Okay, so just recorded this video 3 times and had camera malfunctions. So here goes the fourth shot. It's currently 10 to 11 at night, and let's hope this goes well this time. Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to influence and profit with your personal brand. It's probably common knowledge now that if you don't have a personal brand and you know you're selling an info product, or you're selling consulting services, or you're selling business to business services, you are simply giving yourself a disadvantage. And you probably already have a personal brand. If you're on this channel watching this video, you're already creating content, but you're probably lacking the intention that is actually required in order to gain significant influence within your market, to be able to create that reach and that pull, and then to be able to actually profit it consistently with leverage over long term. Because building a personal brand is all about the long-term advantage that comes with building that influence over time and your ability to profit from it. So without further ado, let's get into the video: how to influence and profit with your personal brand. The first thing I want you to understand is that whenever somebody comes across your personal brand from whatever touch point initially, whether it is a reel or an Instagram story sequence or an ad or a YouTube video, or even just a DM, they're going to come across your personal brand. And the first two things that is going to be the dialogue within their subconscious mind is, number one, do I have some form of connection to this person? In order for you to actually buy from somebody, in order for someone to buy from you, they have to first connect with the figurehead of that thing. That has to be the founder, the creator behind the creator-led business. So the first thing they ask themselves subconsciously is, do I have some way of resonating with this person? Do I connect with this person on a genuine and personal level? And number two is, how useful is this person going to be in my life or my business or in XYZ area? So essentially it's connection and impact. Those are the two questions that are going on internally. And this is really important to understand, because this is going to dictate the two types of content that you have to create in order to, number one, expand your reach within your market and increase the amount of touch points you have with ideal followers, and two, your ability to actually convert those ideal followers into ideal clients and then into cash collected. So going off the back of these two questions that are going to be going through anyone who goes through this process, the first thing they're going to be thinking of, we have to create two types of content in order to cater to these two subconscious immediate questions. So the first type of content that we need to look at is going to be a broader net. This is what gets you reach within your market. This is what builds your connection. And in terms of buyer awareness stages within the info space or the online business space, if you're trying to sell a high ticket service or offer online, you have to understand as well that trust within all markets have decreased and become way more saturated as well. So you can't be direct. You can't be trying to convert people immediately. And this is a mistake I see a lot of coaches I come across, for example. They're trying to convert attention today. And you know, if you look at how realistic that viewpoint is, it's not realistic at all. If you're trying to sell high ticket, there has to be many touch points involved. There has to be hours worth of content consumed and exposure to you, to your value, before there is even a conversion. And so this type of content is what we call connection assets. And this is what gives you that reach within your market, that ability to influence a large sector of your market. And this is broader in the sense that you're targeting not your ideal clients, but you're targeting your ideal followers. So the questions I want you to ask yourself here is, am I currently creating content that can inspire people who are my ideal followers? And am I creating content that aligns with where the target audience wants to end up? Am I connecting to their vision of what they want in their life? I'm going to go a little bit into that in a second, in terms of the 3 freedom bubbles, I basically call them. The second question is, are you posting enough volume consistently to be able to expand your reach? Everything in life is a volume game. The more shots on goal, the more chance you have of scoring. And the third question is, are you connecting with your audience on a genuine basis? So much so that they resonate with your character and your persona, because you basically need to become a marketable character. Somebody who's actually interested. If you're not an interesting character and you can't portray that within your content, then why is somebody going to pay you attention? The first box you have to tick when it comes to converting a person within your audience or your market into a high ticket client, the first box you have to tick is they have to connect with you. If you're selling info and you're a coach, people don't buy coaching, they buy the coach. They buy into the coach and they want everything associated with that individual, with that founder. So you have to be interesting, you have to portray that within your content. So do shit that makes you marketable. Express the true you and be authentic in terms of showcase what it is like to be you, because many other people are going to connect with that if they are similar to you in terms of the ideal follower. You want to attract people who are going to be within your tribe. And examples of this type of connection content is people like Brez Scales. He's amassed a big audience over the last 6 months, I would say, and he creates lots of this type of connection content. Content that basically gets him huge reach within the influence. And what's going to happen as well is the more reach you have within your market, naturally there's going to be more needles in the haystack in terms of ideal clients. Another guy who does this so well is Daniel Dalen. Like, you watch his content, you don't really know what he sells when it comes to ecom. You don't exactly know what his offer is or anything like that when you start watching him, sorry. But what you do know is that this guy is humble. He is full of humility. He is just a top guy. He's clearly building something special with really cool people. And so he's just blown up as well over the last course of the year. And he's built his own brand identity. And then someone contrasting to that is TJR. Obviously, even though sometimes his content may not seem intentional, it absolutely is. You know, most of the comments I see on TJR's videos, on TikTok and stuff, on Instagram, like, he gets huge reach, 500,000, 1.3 million. Most of the comments I see is like, this guy is just us but rich. So he really connects well with his ideal young audience who aspire to achieve the lifestyle that he has right now. Same goes for Imran Ghazi, like one of the best in the business at being intentional with his personal brand. Everything from his style, what he wears, the sort of elegance that comes with his personal brand, stuff like this, helicopters in the background, like, people associate their vision of the 3 freedom bubbles, especially. Like, if you can make people align with the vision they have for themselves in the future, usually if you're trying to succeed in business, the things that are going to entice you in people's content to begin with initial touch points and connection content, is financial freedom, location freedom, time freedom. Seeing people who are able to travel and operate from wherever in the world is going to inspire you to do the same. Who doesn't want that? Not being chained to a 9 to 5. Seeing people who are free to do what they want when they want. Seeing these nice cars with some of the influencers and the especially people who sell info and consulting services and business services online. Like, you'll see them posting nice cars. You'll see them investing in things that they love and building wealth. You'll see vlogs of like them moving into a new apartment, them buying new clothes, them having no monetary stress. All these things you can resonate with and align with, and that is why you watch these types of people, because everybody on the planet has passions, interests, hobbies and habits that you can resonate with in your content and brand. That is how you position yourself as the main character in their mind that they want to aspire towards. And that's how you sort of create that inspiration which hooks people into you. That's what gets your foot in the door. It's the yes to you, not what you sell. Most info products, most coaching is roughly the same, or it's very similar. But if you can portray a unique identity within your personal brand, somebody who has this level of magnetism towards them, then that is what gets people in the door. And most of the early touch points, like if I think about everybody I've bought from over the last year I spent $9,000 on a program. I spent another $6,000 on a program earlier this year. And then I've just invested around $9,000, £7,500 into a new network. All of the guys I've bought from, my first 10 to 20 touch points with them was all through this type of content. Me aligning with them as people. Not even at that stage yet where I'm closing the curiosity gap in terms of what their actual offer is, what they sell, that sort of stuff. Most of it to begin with is the top of funnel touch points. Similar thing goes for this guy, Suway. He's absolutely crushing it right now. One of his biggest reaching reels organically, got like 1.1, I think it got over a million views on Instagram Reels. And it was essentially him doing a benchmark month. I think he did 150k a month, and he basically phoned his mum and got her reaction of it. Now, he mentions 150K in that reel, which is the outcome. That is what everyone wants. But that's not what the reel was centered around. It was centered around the feeling of being able, as a business owner, as a consultant, as a agency owner, to be able to call your parents up and tell them, like, Mum, I've just achieved this amazing thing. Make them proud. That's the feeling people want. That's what they associate with. That's what they align with. And then there's another example here of Trey, who has literally got his own channel specifically just to build connection with people, with his ideal followers. Again, this content is very much broader in a sense of your ideal follower, which is different from your ideal client. So moving into the second piece of content, this is where you get a little bit more narrow. This is where you're able to actually convert the reach you get and convert the attention. And this is through education, or what I call value assets. So the question I want you to ask here is, are you also creating content where you're sharing free value that actually helps them achieve a certain outcome, solve a specific problem? And if they went and implemented that, like if you go and implement everything I'm about to teach you in this video, you are going to be able to influence your market and profit from it as well. If you can do that type of value, you will build the law of reciprocity. Within your market, you will build huge credibility, trust, and more importantly, authority. This is what sells. This is what actually converts your attention into cash. And it builds, like I said, the law of reciprocity. Hormozi is one of the best in the business at this. It's why he was able to sell $100 million worth of product and services through his last book launch for $100 million money models. He's got a huge audience because he's built this reputation, he's built this reach, and his free content is so valuable that whenever he does sell something, it's a no-brainer. You don't even bat an eyelid, you just buy it. Like, I know guys who picked up on his upsell offers. They spent tens of thousands of dollars on his last book launch simply because of the reputation he's built through that value. Again, Iman Gadzhi, he's so good with the top funnel content, but he's also for years been delivering huge value within his space, and as a result, he's able to print millions of dollars at every launch, every opportunity. Now he's acquiring companies because he's just built such equity within his market of info space. And then Suway, like, again, producing huge reach in his top funnel content, but then also delivering huge value in his nurture content. Stuff like a 10-hour course, which is just pure value. In order for someone to buy, they need a lot of touch points up front. They need to see your face, because you think about how much noise is on social media. People don't know you exist. That is your problem. You need more reach, more touch points, and you need more content consumed, more time exposure to your value, so that it builds up that law of reciprocity. You move people through your buying cycle and they get closer to becoming a client. Same with Trey. He's got a channel for connection and a channel for his consulting business, which is just value videos and that sort of thing. And when you get the balance right between these two types of content, in terms of entertainment content or connection content and educational content, value assets, you're able to build trust and connection. You're able to basically have brand diversity, which eliminates brand fatigue. I mean, someone I bought from last year, I was watching he only basically did value content, and I was watching him all year. Finally bought his program, and then I just basically moved on. I stopped watching his content because he was only creating one type of content. So unless I was in the mood to learn that type of topic, and sit down and get my notepads out and stuff like that to learn from those videos, I wasn't going to watch his content. And so the touch points died down, and then I moved on, and I've not watched him in a very long time. That's why you need to get a balance. Overall reach increases while your content that is educational and valuable to your ICP filters and nurtures the ideal clients. You have more authority, more nurture capacity, and the educational content is what moves people through the buyer journey in terms of the sophistication levels. So just from people being in your ecosystem for long enough, your content can move them from being pain and symptom aware to all of a sudden becoming problem aware if they weren't already, then solution aware, then aware of your method in terms of how you achieve the outcome, and sort of getting closer to commit to you and your transformation, and then eventually you get them with the purchase and the conversion. So this is the power of these two types of content. And I want you to sort of see your personal brand as casting a net into your market. And essentially the broader section of the net is this content we do for reach. This is what gets you more reach, more flow of ideal followers, And within that, more naturally needles in the haystack. And when I'm talking about needles in the haystack, I'm talking about ideal clients anyway. And then the bottom half of the net is the more narrow content. And this is essentially what nurtures, with your reach content, with your connection content. This is what gets the yes to you, which is the most important. That's what gets your foot in the door with potential future clients. And then it's the value content. It's the law of reciprocity. It's the evidence you throw in their face. It is the value, the problem awareness, the solution awareness, the education that basically ticks the boxes for the transformation and the clarity on the outcome. And then also the method in terms of the solutions and how you achieve that outcome. Once you have alignment with all these three things, this is when you see the conversion. So you have to get a balance. And one of the things you can do to start basically producing both of these types of content, if you're really stuck, at the minute, like this system is what has allowed me to create $17,000 in revenue last month. And essentially I started by just sort of setting a 60-minute timer once a week and intentionally scrolling through Instagram Reels. And then every time I found a reel that connected with me or touched my heart, in the sense it inspired me or sort of brought up any of those feelings and emotions of like, this is what I want, the vision, I saved it to a top of funnel saved album on Instagram, and I did exactly the same for educational content that sort of stood out to me that I could put my twist on. So you can do that to begin with if you're really sort of stuck. At the minute now, we're having more sales calls, more client calls, a lot busier, like on a daily basis. So content ideas eventually like basically just falls out the sky into your head. And essentially you can just get to a point where you're documenting problems that are coming up within your client businesses or client case studies. You can get a lot of content ideas from your sales calls to basically fill the gaps within your marketing around like objections and all that sort of stuff. And just getting to know your clients and your ideal followers more allows you to just sort of attract more ideas naturally. But if you're really struggling, you can do this exercise. And essentially, this is the intention you need to work with in terms of your personal brand. This is the intention. It's get reach, create connection with you, get as many touch points as you can out there, and then nurture them with insanely valuable content. Because the only difference right now between you and all of these guys over here who are printing 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures and beyond is two things. It's intention, which you now know having watched this video, and it's volume. Like I said, nobody knows you exist in terms of the whole circumference of your market. You right now are a fart in the wind in your space. So you need to pump as much volume as possible, and you need to be as intentional as possible in terms of seeing your content, seeing everything you produce within your personal brand as an asset that is going to work for you, specifically with every piece of content having its own role within the ecosystem. Like I said, this has helped me get 17K in a month with a brand new offer. And this is what's helped these guys on here make millions of dollars. Most people don't implement what they learn on YouTube. If you are in that slither of the percentile that will actually go and implement this, you will see the difference, and you will see more flow of ideal followers, you'll see more flow of ideal customers, and you will also see more conversions. This has made my sales process so much easier and more streamlined. It's also decreased the time delay between when a new person comes into my ecosystem and then becomes a client. And it's just had an overall massive effect. I know it will continue to compound over time as I continue to build to this intentional personal brand with this two types of content. So go implement this, and I wish you all the best. Hope you had value from this video, and if you did, feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.